camera on the doorway. Somebody bring the light. Authentic plus TV. Got the whole room right. Future K in the corner. Come with a steady hand. One take, clean frame. He make the moment stand. Everybody lean in. You know what time it is. When he says roll that, you feel that lead what it is. No wasting motion, no empty scene. Just golden in the frame and it lands so clean. Authentic plus TV. Best of content, baby. Authentic plus TV. When Future K around. Authentic plus TV. Best of content, baby. Authentic plus TV. He bring the best around. Call sheet in the morning, energy in the air. Every laugh, every line hits like it was meant right there. People watch, then watch again. They know the proof is real. Every cut got a pause. Every scene got feel. Everybody lean in.
I want to make three absolute statements. The first is this. Contrary to what you're seeing on the media, South Africans are not xenophobic. Contrary to what you're seeing in the media. Now, that statement sounds a blasty statement, especially because of some of the things you would have seen online. I'm not saying that there are no xenophobic people in South Africa. That's not what I'm saying. I'm simply saying the entire nation is xenophobic would be missing the point. There are 65 million people in South Africa. We have 11 official languages. We're one of the most diverse societies in the world, and even though that is the case, we get along with most people. If you go and look at the largest companies in South Africa and the CEOs or boards of those companies, you will find that the CEOs or boards or C-suite executives are many people from the rest of Africa. So I think I felt that it was important for me to say that. The second point I want to make is this. I think that there is an agenda to turn us against each other. And I think we feed that agenda when we feed the noise and the fire. And so what I'd like to think we can do is to reach across the divide, have actual conversations, understand what's happening, as they say in Kenya, kwa ground, on the ground, so we can find each other. And then the third point I want to make is this. I was in Ghana last week. I went to the Kwame Nkrumah Museum. While I was in the Kwame Nkrumah Museum, I learned that Kwame Nkrumah, the man who is arguably the liberator of Africa, the first liberated nation in the continent of Africa was Ghana, 1957. And the man who liberated that nation was removed from power through a coup by his own people. Then I started reading about the history of your own nations, and I learned that you've had several of your own coups. And then I looked at what happened in the Congo, and I realized that Patrice Lumumba was removed by his own people. And I say all of that just to make this simple point. We as a people have to do better, man. Us as a people, dragging each other as a people, fighting each other as a people, swearing at each other as a people, calling each other names as a people, it has to stop at some point. And I genuinely hope that we can use the church as a platform to bring Africans together. Because we're different until we start worshiping under the same Christ. And so my hope for every single person in this room, my hope for every single one of you, is that you'd find the courage to be the light. Just as you and I were instructed to be. Go out to the world and be a light to the world.
Deputy Minister, welcome to the program. Let me perhaps start with you and the Home Affairs' reaction to the marches seen of late against illegal migration. What do you make of it?
Yeah, good evening, Blaine, and good evening to all your guests in studio and all to the viewers at home. Yes, indeed. I would just like to start by mentioning that the work that we are doing as Home Affairs does not only start with deportations, it starts with us doing interceptions in the border environment. You will have noticed that we will have increased to more than 200% in terms of interceptions that we are doing in the border environment. And yes, you are correct. We have had quite an increment number over the past 2 years, close to about 110,000 deportations have been carried out. Now, one thing that I must make very clear is that it might seem as if it's a small number, which is compared to the problem that we are having in the country. But you must also consider that it is quite a legislated environment that we have to follow. Before deporting a person, we have to follow certain legal requirements, which means that the turnaround times do not mean that you just grab a person from the street and you say, look, you are an illegal immigrant, therefore we're taking you straight to your country right now. They have to follow through a process, they must appear before court and so on, which is why the reforms that we are now introducing in terms of law will make it easier for us to be able to carry out deportation.
How so?
And also make sure that it will make it easy because, for instance, if you are in the country illegally, you must now only show good cause. And in as much as that might seem as if it's not important or it's not very much effective, but it will be effective because currently, right now, if you get a person who is illegal in the street and then they say, we want to apply for asylum, they want to be refugees, then you must, as per the law prescribes, issue them with an asylum seeker notice and then tell them that you will regulate them, which is not really what we want to do. The new law will now say you must show good cause and give the department a bit more power in order to execute deportations.
Deputy Minister, to what extent, from the Home Affairs Department's point of view, is South Africans being excluded from legitimate economic opportunities due to illegal migration?
Well, there are instances, for instance, right now, if you talk about people who come into South Africa seeking asylum, most of them are not really asylum seekers, but they are rather economic migrants that we have consistently shown with this slide, where around the year 2007, we had a surge of asylum seekers coming into the country. And that coincided with the global meltdown, which means that most people who come in are people who are looking for economic opportunities. And obviously, at the core of the immigration issue and the immigration debate, as other people will say, South Africans are xenophobic. And I would like to make it very clear, South Africans are not xenophobic. What you have here is a contest for resources in a country that is having problems in terms of growth, and then you have an influx of people who are coming into the country illegally because they are looking for opportunities. You have a situation where the employers are also more inclined to employ illegal immigrants because they take advantage of them because they are providing cheap labor, which is not acceptable. And that is why we need to deal with the issue, because that issue of economic migrants, it actually stifles opportunities for honest asylum seekers who are coming into the country, and then it clogs up the system.
I want to talk a bit about that in a short while. Let's get some reaction from our live audience here. So your name and where you're from?
My name is Sandile Tube. I'm from the March and March.
So you heard what the Deputy Minister has to say in terms of some reforms within the system that is making a difference. Your take?
Our take is informed by the people on the ground. The ground is saying the government is not doing enough in terms of that. And also the legislative framework needs to an overhaul change so that it can suit the needs of the people of South Africa.
How so?
There's abuse of asylum seeking in the country. We have people that come in the country and claim to be under attack in their countries, and that is not so. And then over time, they change their status to be full-time South Africans and compete for jobs with the rest of the South Africans.
Your name and where are you from, sir?
My name is Lutik Muswane from Winsam, Africa.
Do you agree, disagree?
So we first need to put it into perspective. There is a real anger on the ground in terms of the current economic situation for young people. I mean, you've got over 65% unemployment rate, and we know that entrepreneurs are the solution to that problem. But entrepreneurship cannot flourish in a country where systems are not conducive for that. And I think the anger is legitimate, but it's perhaps misdirected because it needs to be directed into the systems so that the systems can be put in place so that SMEs can flourish in the country and create jobs, and so we can solve the unemployment problem.
Do you think the anger is misdirected? Your name and where you're from?
It's Thabo Ngayo. I'm the president of Abahambe National Civic Movement. Now, look, I listened to the deputy minister, but I'm a bit concerned with misinterpretation of the law, especially with people that are undocumented or even when they are documented in terms of their work. I mean, we've got the law in terms of Section 19.4, read together with Employment Service Act number 4 of 2014. That guide then prompt the employers that they must only employ foreign national only on a critical skill. But when I listen to many of our ministers, they don't talk about that. They all say to us to say, Labour Department must go and inspect that employers are following all the rules in terms of employing foreign nationals. But they don't articulate it clearly in full to say only when, if they are a critical skill, that's when we can allow foreign nationals to work in our country. And also, again, what that I've picked up with him when he says refugees and asylum seekers. At the first place, these people, we need to look at it. Where did they migrate to? As per the Refugee Act, Convention of 1951, it clearly states that if a person migrate to a country because of war or anything of that nature, he must migrate to a nearest country. But how do you get somebody from Ethiopia, then immigrate straight to South Africa, jump all these countries? So it's a problem on its own. So what also he mentioned about the borders, we need to be very strict in terms of the borders. Those people that are coming in and out in our country, how do they come in, whereas we've got the PMA standing there? And when you look, we're spending so much money in our country for these people in the country where we now are deporting them at our own resources, whereas we should have prevented those things from the start. So there must be something must be done. So all what we can say to illegal foreigners that are in our country, let it go in peace and use the same road where they used to enter our country. Again, they pass by those rivers and all that. Let it go back with those rivers now because they're costing us our tax fortune. So it's a problem.
Deputy Minister, is the issue the laws or is the issue, as we keep on explaining on the show, the implementation of the laws?
Look, Blaine, it's a variety of issues. It's not just the law only. You have to change the law in order for it to create an enabling environment to give state more control and more power and more tools to fight illegal immigration. But also, you have to make sure that you invest in the border environment and making sure that you are managing secure borders. When the March in March actually marched to Pretoria, to the Union buildings, we were not there to accept the memorandum because on that very same day, we were introducing the more than 12 billion PPP border arrangement that will be upgrading our border environment in order to maintain sanitized borders so that there is clarity in terms of the movement of people. We would have loved to have been there to accept the memorandum, but however, we had that task to implement. Now, let me make one thing very clear. The law is in the process of changes, and I'm happy that some of the civic organizations that are there with you, they have contributed in the white paper that we have developed, and that it brings legislative changes. For instance, where someone is saying that the colleague there in studio is saying that a person will then leave for another country and live past 5 countries to come into South Africa. It deals with that because it says you must now internalize the first safe country principle, which is accepted by United Nations standards, that if you are fleeing from your own country, the first safe country is where you must reside. You can then leave and pass all these other countries and then end up in South Africa. But because our legislative environment allows for that right now, it means you then have to accept. If you remember, we had a very serious problem with the Afghan nationals at some point who came through the Zimbabwean border, and then they were at the border post and they said, look, we must be accepted into the country because we know that your laws do not say you must turn us back. So we are changing that by introducing this white paper. Those are some of the issues that deals with that. Now, look, not all foreign nationals who are in the country are here in the country illegal. Some of them are having various documents that make them to be in the country legitimately. And then it is a decision of employers when they employ people who do then take in. But the more we need to do is to enforce harsher consequences to employers who intentionally hire illegal immigrants because they are taking advantage of them and because they know that they are not going to pay them the minimum wage, such that it does not only allow for fines, but it allows for arrest and heavier consequences.
The president did say that he will be increasing or in the process of increasing the labor inspectors to about 10,000. That's a major boost from what we currently have, which is plus or minus 2,300 labor inspectors. Do you think that will make a change? Your name and where you're from?
Yes, so my name is Dr. Dale McKinley, and I represent Kopanang African Xenophobia. Blaine, I think, first of all, just not responding directly to that question, I think what the position that's been created by your initial is that immigration is a fundamental problem. Immigration, there's two sides to this story, and this is what you talk about fairness. So let's mention, for example, the economic impact that shows, our own statistics, South Africa show, that each immigrant that is having a business here employs at least 3 to 4 people, contributes taxes. Nobody ever talks about that. We never talk about the dysfunctionality of Home Affairs in terms of its documentation crisis, where most people who are deemed, quote, illegal are simply without documentation. We don't talk about the 4 million South African citizens who are undocumented, who have to wait years for their documentation. What about them? It's a documentation crisis. It's a systemic crisis. And what we're saying is, we recognize, I wonder why, for example, there was no mention of the Kopanang African Xenophobia March, which happened 2 weeks ago in this very city with hundreds and hundreds of people with the different kind of message. We don't talk about these things. So we're creating a very similar kind of thing to the United States, which is this anger that is then directed towards those who, by the way, built this city that we're very much in. Migrants built this city from Mozambique and Zimbabwe. Miners who worked here, who created much of the wealth of the city we live in. And now we're trying to blame them for all of these ills, when in fact, if we start looking at the factual information about joblessness, there's no statistical evidence. There's no evidence that suggests the foreign nationals are taking away many, many jobs. What we have is a macroeconomic policy that basically privileges corporate capital and big investments and doesn't support small-scale township economies. So if, for example, you even kick out all the spaza shop owners tomorrow and say all the foreign nationals own and every single South African citizen, would those small-scale businesses survive because of our own policies? No. You ask a South African spaza shop owner, they're facing exactly the same problems. So instead of making this an immigration foreign citizen issue, we should make it a governance issue, a policy issue, and politicians have a lot to answer for, because that's where people are protesting. Water, electricity, education, health, housing. Those can't be blamed on foreign nationals who make up, by the way, less than 4% of our population.
Thabi, you look like you want to jump in?
Yes, my brother, I think your imagination when you talk. When he says that we hate foreign, we're using this illegal immigration issue as an attack to the Mineme when I'm listening to him. It's not that we hate foreign nationals, and we're not against the people who are coming to trade illegally in our country. Of course, South Africa needs people that could assist in terms of the revenue of our country. But let's go deeper to this issue. The people who are not here in our country, who are here in our country illegally, what do we do about them? being them as Kopanang, how do they assist to make sure those people must go out of our country because they're here legally? To me, those people are criminals. And another thing, when he says those people must be documented, how do you document somebody that come in our country legally and want to be documented in the country where he is illegal in our country? That's not fair to our law.
I want you to respond, then I'll move on.
Sure. The first thing is to say that the fundamental problem of documentation crisis lies with the Department of Home Affairs. There's been a documentation crisis. The asylum seeker, for example, is tens of thousands of people. People who come in illegally come in because the actual legal avenues are not available to them. So if you close off the legal avenues and you say you have to wait 6 years in order for example, if you're a doctor, we have doctors here from West Africa who cannot work simply because of the red tape. So it's not just about your spaza shop owner or your person who's trying to take a low-paying job on a farm. We have very skilled individuals who cannot get these kinds of things. That's a problem not of those individuals who are not here illegally, but are here because there's a documentation crisis in our own country. The second thing is what we have said. As Kopanang, we have said this very clearly, that the way to deal with this problem is to deal with reforming our immigration system. You don't go and attack spaza shops. You don't go and beat up foreign nationals, which is what we saw on the other day. People being hit because they are Ghanaian, because they look something. That goes back to apartheid days, when we started judging people on the basis of what language they had, what skin color, and the way they looked. That's a very dangerous path to follow. So I'm glad to hear them say that you're saying that you don't hate, because if we allow that hatred, in the United States, in Europe right now, people of color, people who are black, people who are there are being basically repressed simply because of the way they look. If we started becoming like that as South Africans, we go back to the past that we all fought for, and many of us died. Many died for those freedoms.
Deputy Minister, I'll come back to you, but let me get to Deputy Minister. Deputy Minister, talk to us about what you've just heard now. Is the system broken that needs to be overhauled?
Let me just firstly start by saying that we don't have an identity crisis in South Africa in as far as issuing documents, and I will display that. Number one is that South Africa is sitting at number 2 in terms of civic registration in Africa. The only country that is above us is Egypt. So in terms of the entire countries of Africa, we are sitting at number 2, which will show you that, yes, we are not at a level where we want to be, but it shows that we are amongst the top performers. If you look in terms of documents that we've issued, in the 2020-21 financial year, we issued 622,000 smart ID cards for first-time issues, which means that those are first South Africans that are deserving to have documents. In the 24-25 financial year, we issued about 1,032,327, which is a 66% more increase. So we are issuing documents for South Africans, and we run various platforms where we actually register South Africans. We have even moved to digital platforms, opening up bank-based branches. And the reason we do that is so that those who are legitimately deserving and who are South African can be able to access our services. Look, the issue of the 10,000 labor inspectors is very much welcome, and it is very much needed. The issue here is that we must deal with this thing of saying people who are illegal in the country, you then say they are undocumented. Some of them, they enter the country with passports, coming in on a 90-day visitor's visa. They then overstay. That person has a document, but they've become illegal in the country because they do not have a basis on why they are staying in the country. So the issue of being undocumented, I don't think it should be used as something that really deflates us from dealing with the real issue of illegal immigration, of people who come into the country illegally. That we must deal with and accept that there are a number of foreign nationals who are in the country through proper channels and who are coming in to contribute in the economy of the country and the growth of the country. They work in academia, in research institutions, and they contribute. But those who come in illegally, I don't think we really, as a country, must then be able to shy away from dealing with illegal immigration. And that is why we are upholding the rule of law by increasing the number of deportations. The review of the legislative framework will also make clear some of the issues that have not been clear, because the overhaul in terms of the legislative environment government is there. We are going to be moving to a single direction law, compromising of citizenship, refugee and asylum seeker management, as well as immigration. Unlike previously where you had various pieces of legislation, we are making the legislation more compact, more focused, and it's going to be helpful to us.
Advocate Malgas, you are from Johannesburg?
Yes.
I understand you have an interesting story that you told our producers. Share with us.
I'm Advocate Nkosinathi Malgas, a human rights lawyer. I'm from exile, a former member of Mkondo Wesizwe. I spent my youth in the liberation struggle in this country. In the 90s, I was detained and I was arrested and detained in Zimbabwe, Harare, in a notorious prison called Chikurubi, maximum prison. The reason why I was detained in Zimbabwe at that time was precisely because I was in Zimbabwe illegally. And secondly, I had the MK guerrilla background, military background, when I skipped the country. I was the danger to national security in Zimbabwe. But during that period, I was very angry that I'm the liberation political activist, a freedom fighter. Here am I in Chikurubi maximum prison. I'm prisoned here. And this is the country that is said to be liberated. But frankly, post-apartheid South Africa, when I served the national intelligence of this country, South Africa, at a senior level, it was then that I began to understand the importance and significance of national security in any country world over. It was then that I understood the integrity, the need for the protection of the integrity of sovereignty in any country world over. So I'm saying what the plethora of marches that took place in the past few days were nothing else other than saying to government that have been in power for more than 33 years now that we've got a problem of the undocumented illegal foreigners. And this must not be convoluted and skew documented people who are in the country legally and the people who are in the country illegally. So those marches that took place were directed at the undocumented foreigners that are in the country. So it is a reflection of what the minister has summarized, dismal failure of government, in particular the Department of Home Affairs, for the mere fact that we've got a manifestation of undocumented illegal immigrants in the country is the failure in 30 years of democracy. Right. The mere fact that we've got undocumented illegal foreigners in the country use as cheap labor is a reflection of the Department of Labor. More importantly, as the minister has indicated that recently the deportation has accumulated to 40%. What does that tell you? It tells you that there is there's been a lack of the South African government to elevate the issue of regional integrated economy and immigration at a level of SADC and the African Union.
Deputy Minister, you heard the words being used, dismal failure, on behalf of government and the department. Your response to that?
Look, there are issues that we are faced with regards to immigration. And I think one point I've made very clear is that South Africa post-1994 or during 1994 when we were crafting our immigration law, we seem to have been oblivious of what the world has to offer. We thought that the world is this perfect place and that it will allow South Africans to go throughout the world and experience the world. We did not have experience of saying that actually immigration comes with the illegal movement of people, it comes with the illegal move of goods, it comes with human trafficking. So the way in which the laws were crafted then favored the movement of people. We made it easy. We took down the electric fence that were put up by the apartheid government because they had designed our borders to keep people out. And we understood that immigration is an economic opportunity. But I want to say one part of it. The reason South Africa has become a country that is receiving, because South Africa is a receiving country of a number of immigration. It's because of the opportunities that are available in the country. It is because of the level of the economy that we are in terms of Africa and better in terms of the other countries. That is why we are attracting so many people to come into the country. Yes, we are now taking the issue seriously. If you look in terms of the past administration, the introduction of the Border Management Authority, it was not there before, but because the state takes serious issues of border and security. Right. One of the things we've said is that an unsafe country can never grow economically. We had a problem in terms of investment into the security cluster. Such investments now are being made. Right. We are seeing with the BMA, we'll be seeing more investment going to the defense to make sure that we secure the sovereign integrity of our country.
Deputy Minister, in order to secure the sovereignty or the territorial integrity of a country, we need to understand precise numbers in terms of how many undocumented people we have in this country. Do we know that number?
We will never be, it's not a number that you can know, it's a number that you can estimate. Remember, these people, they don't go through the formal structures of our border environment, so you cannot be able to say you have so many people who are in the country illegally. And that is why we need to work with communities, with civic organizations, where they know that there is influx or there is residences that have been captured by illegal migrants. They must work with us, even though we do not have all the resources that we do, but we have shown commitment to our inspectorate unit to run inspections within the country to make sure that those who are in the country illegally are actually deported. But that requires a whole of society approach. But if you were to ask me how many legal foreigners that are in the country, I don't think that anyone will know, because when they come in, they do not register anywhere to say that I have arrived. Most of the people that we can account for are those who come in for 90 days stays and then do not leave to go back to their countries, then become legal. We can be able to say who those people are. But a lot of investment has to be made in order for us to correct the situation around illegal migration.
What do you have to say about this? Please let us know on our Facebook page, SABC News Facebook page. Is it a case of law enforcement needs to be enforced more vigorously, or is it systemic reform that is needed at this stage? Let us know. Quick break, more discussion next. Welcome back. You're watching It's Topical. We're talking about illegal immigration. You saw the number of marches that happened for and against. You heard what Dr. Dale McKinley had to say with regards to that. Let's get more takes, perspectives on this matter. This is Tapelo from Johannesburg. Tapelo, where do you fall on this side?
For me, yes, I'm Tapelo Masokwane. I'm a writer, I'm a public speaker, and I'm an ex-convict. First and foremost, I just want to deal with especially what the minister spoke about, the economical situation, which at the core is the contest. You need to understand that when you start here in Greenside, within the landscape of garden service, you find it's occupied by the Malawians. Within the restaurant, you find it's occupied by the Zimbabweans. But the problem is here, it's because of the ANC. The ANC, it has failed us. This is not just a problem of the foreign nationals. The problem at the core is our government system. First and foremost, who is running the economy in this country? Is it the Zimbabweans who are selling the cabbages and the spinach in the street, or is it the Chinese there in Main Reef? If truly we are saying, let me put it this way. You look at the Chinese who are employing the very same foreigners who are illegal in this country. Aren't they committing crime? So are we saying that we are selective in terms of addressing the illegal immigration or people who are here perpetuating crimes against humanity? Maybe let me bring this, because for me, I'm speaking from my own story. I always say this. This is for the third time, Mr. Herman, I've been speaking to you, that I have a criminal record. Crime is not on the basis of your foreign nationals. Crime is a human problem across the globe. I've committed crime. South Africans are committing crime. They are killing people. So it is not okay to blame it on the foreign nationals. And before you pass, I just want to say this. It is important for South Africans to truly take responsibility and accountability for their lives, because the problem is that the government has promised them, making promises that at the end of the day they are not delivering. They become dependent to this government. For instance, for myself, I write books, I go to schools, I go to speak to schools. They need to take ownership for their lives and stop blaming other people for their misfortune. If you look at the 370, I used to stay in Soweto. You will find them collecting the 370 from the government. They move from the post office queue, they go to the liquor seat queue. So there has to be a balance in the conversation where we talk about accountability and responsibility.
Deputy Minister, I'm going to get a few more comments. I'll let you respond towards the end. Your name and where are you from?
My name is Mamiles Kosana. I'm from an organization called Fiala Movement in Alexandra. What we are advocating for is that stricter policies and more investment in outreach programs like the IDPs. They should educate, inform, and also influence the public about knowing better about our policies and our laws also, so that they can participate with more knowledge and also get the courage to even participate by getting more trust in our government and also being the government, because of as it is, we've lost trust in our government. Most of the people who are actually advocating for the illegal immigrants to be documented are people who live in suburbs, people who don't have the real life experiences. Unlike us from the townships, we know what the struggles are. That's why there's an influx of civic organizations actually going out there and making it a point that we want to be heard and seen by the government, that our cries are the reality. They are the everyday struggles that we go through, not perceptions, not researches from social media or from Google. This is what we live and see. We live with those illegal foreigners. It can't be that in a country we've got an influx of criminals who are killing people, who are doing crime willingly without any accountability because of they cannot be traced. Right. That's not normal. I mean, everything that's happening for us who live in the informal settlements, it's not normal for us. So we will keep advocating for what we feel is right for the ordinary South Africans who can speak and who can even fight for themselves. We keep on fighting for them until we are heard and seen.
Thanks for your comments. Your name and where are you from?
Mama Shwabati Noko, and I represent Kopanang Africa Against Xenophobia. So 2 things that I want to raise. One, the Deputy Minister says to us that there's a difference between undocumented and illegal. And he mentions that a lot of people that come in legally with their passports, they don't go back. And if that's the case, how come they don't have those statistics, right? Surely, if he says, for instance, this group of people this group of foreign nationals that are in South Africa are illegal, surely he should be able to give us numbers. Because our argument is that we don't have an issue of illegality. We have an issue of undocumentation, right? 2, in terms of our constitution, South Africa is known for having the best constitution in the world. We, like any other person, we wanted to work for everyone. We wanted to work for the poor of South Africa. We want to work for it to work for people that are coming out of South Africa. So what I find interesting, right, is that my sister here mentions illegal people that they stay with in the location. And the question is, how do they know? that someone, if we are sitting all here in this studio, how do we know that someone is illegal or not legal? Unless you are a government official and you have a mandate to be able to check someone's credential. So the issue is then we must check who is now obeying the law and who's breaking the law.
Thank you very much indeed. Let's get your comment, your name.
My name is Bongani Kumalo. I'm a convener of Abahambe National Civic Movement. We don't hate foreigners. We hate how they conduct themselves. And this way, I like what the minister says when he says South Africa, they are not xenophobic. The word xenophobic, it was made to silence us. Now we are not silenced. We'll push our fight with the fight to the government, and government, they must do their job. Home Affairs and Labour Department, if they did their job before, we wouldn't be in this situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. I know you wanted to get into, let me just get your last comments because we're fast running out of time, and then I'll get some closing comments from the Minister, Deputy Minister.
Thank you. I think there's two things for us we want to comment on. One is the issue of the BMA. The border management, our borders are very porous, and it's surprising that the Deputy Minister is not talking to the issue of the porous borders. You know, I had an opportunity to visit a number of borders in the country. There are some borders where it's only the fence. You can just literally walk through. And then the second thing that the Deputy Minister has spoken of is the issue of he does not know how many illegal immigrants we have. And that's an indictment on us to say, if the government does not know how many illegal immigrants we have in the country, we want to have a message to the government to say the number of the marches and the complaints that you see in the streets are a measure, yardstick to say, this is the number of illegal immigrants that are in our townships, in our locations, flats and everywhere.
Let's leave it there because of time. Thank you very much indeed. Your final question.
All right. I think we also need to understand that businesses cannot flourish in a country where the laws are not obeyed. And the minister needs to do something about that. Entrepreneurs cannot flourish where laws are not obeyed. The reason we have illegal foreigners coming here is not because of the opportunities, it's because there's just an opportunity to do crime. Because our laws are not enforced. And that harms small businesses, and it harms opportunities for young people.
All right, let's. I've got a minute or two. Let's go down the line.
Quickly, I heard the gentleman talking about the spaza shop. We have laws in our country. Section 15. It stipulates clearly that local economy is reserved for South Africans. Those Ethiopians that are running our spaza shop, many of them, they took those spaza shops from the marginalized communities who are actually not affording to do a certain thing, and they're using money to own those spaza shops. And one another thing, I heard the minister saying that the states, they don't know the state. It means our country is under siege. That is when now civic movement needs to work together, as he has explained, that at least we have people to actually at a capacity as volunteers, train them how to check a person that is illegal in our country, including at the Labour Department.
Thanks.
Yeah, just very quickly. I just want to say this to anyone who's listening, and I think this is a global issue. Foreign national migration will always be with us. Immigration is as long as human history. People will move when they need to. We're never going to be able to stop it. It needs to be managed. Blaming foreign nationals for crime, the statistics show otherwise. Blaming foreign nationals for unemployment, the statistics show otherwise. People in this country, and we are with the communities as well, they know where the problems lie. The problems lie with 30 years of policies that have not been for the poor and for the working class people of this country. That's where the problems lie. And if we deflect it, we are going down a dangerous path. Let's not be, and I challenge those who, their legitimate concerns, but let's not become a Trumpist country where we're saying the same thing as Donald Trump, where we hate immigrants and all immigrants must be, and we see people in our streets saying all foreigners must go, all immigrants must go. Let's be very careful. Many people in this country fought and died for the freedoms that we have. Let's protect them while managing the problem.
No, can we clarify something?
Just very quickly, 30 seconds.
Yeah, please. when you say many people die for this country, we were present. We're the one that died for this country. We're the one got prison for this country. We saw people get banned for this country. So the freedom that we fought for. So you are saying that we must allow people who are illegal in our country to come and abuse it and to abuse our economy. That one it cannot be tolerated. As South Africans, we will stand up and they will stand together. We will protect our sovereignty without fear or favor.
Deputy Minister, as you can hear, it's a layered problem.